Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode of Journey with the Abrams. We have a special guest here, Javier uh, Del Toro. Javier Nuñez Del Toro.
Right.
Okay, I slaughtered that. Yeah. Why don't you introduce yourself, Javier?
All right. Thank you guys for the opportunity. My name is Javier Nuñez Del Toro. I'm a realtor here in Bogota, Colombia. And I've been here in Colombia for 4 years now. Before that, I worked in Venezuela, in Caracas, for the past 7 years there. So totally, I'm 11 years in the career. Before that, I worked in multinational companies in the marketing departments, and that's ancient history, so I'm not gonna get into that. But I've been working here in Bogota, concentrating my efforts in the north side of the capital city. That's where you were looking for an apartment when you were planning to come to Colombia. So that's how we met each other.
Yes, yes. And a little bit of history, how we met. Yeah, that's good. So, as you know, we packed up and moved to Bogota, Colombia in December of 2020. And Javier was one of the first people we met when we did that, and huge help. And we'll get into that in just a second. But he's been with us from the very start, and even after we left, he's still working with us now and helping us with some things as well. So real huge help. Thank you so much, Javier, for all of that.
Wow.
I guess right off to the questions, I suppose. This episode, I think we want to focus on trying to address some of the issues that expats face when they visit Colombia. If somebody wants to come and move over to Bogota, Colombia, and stay for 6 months or a year, and they don't want to stay in hotels, or they don't want to stay in Airbnbs because that gets really expensive really fast. I think the next thing they should look at is actually renting a place and signing a lease, for the course of 12 months. And so I think you would be an excellent resource to talk about that. Maybe tell us a bit, so many questions, but I guess the first one would be, do you see a lot of people coming to Bogota, Colombia, and sort of staying for a year with this COVID? Has that really affected how many people are coming, or has that slowed down the rate of people who have decided to live in Colombia from other countries?
Yes, I had to say that the pandemic has slowed the amount of people, immigrants or tourists coming to Colombia. This is different if you're coming to work than if you coming to stay for just a little while, experience the culture and everything, like you guys did. It applies different rules. There are different things that you have to bear in mind, and one of those are the financial issues. When you are coming here under a contract for a multinational company, or you're coming to work for a company, you have no problems to get an account, a bank account, because you only have to go there, show your passport or your visa, your work visa, and a letter from your company saying which income you're going to have and everything, and they open an account for you. But if you're coming as a tourist, is impossible. That's as you guys
as we found out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's impossible, because the regulations here all once, I mean, for the money laundering experiences years back in here in Colombia. And also I found out that in other countries there's also restrictions for tourists to have bank accounts locally. And that's okay. I mean, you can work things around as you guys did. I mean, it's a little more expensive also. I mean, keep that in mind because you have to be sending money through the money companies. I mean, it could be Western Union or whatever companies that you have to forward money over here and then exchange it. And you're subject also to exchange rate down here that fluctuates. So you have to keep that in mind. And Colombia is also a different country. And I find out that it's the only country that has stratos. I mean, like different bands that divide the city in terms. Originally, they were established in the 1980s, in 1985, I think it was when that was established, and they divide the city in terms of incomes. But usually, that's what is the result nowadays. But originally, it wasn't that way. Originally, the Constitution in 1991 declared access to public services as a fundamental right. So it was created with that in mind. I mean, access to all services, water, electricity, gas, and the ones that cannot pay for that would the higher stratos will pay for that for them. So it's kind of a solidarity system that it was in place. In the years that had passed, I mean, the stratos are now seen as like a species of class, you know, different classes, different, because those bands are for people with better income. They have, it's 6 bands that goes from 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. 3, 2, and 1 don't pay for services. 5 and 6 pay for that. And 4, the stratus 4, doesn't pay anyone. I mean, they pay just what they consume. So it is it was created with that in mind, but it has a result as it's not defined by the purchasing power of a person or the neighborhood where they live, but in sense of the type of building and the street in front of your building. That was how that was intended to separate the city in order to decide who pays for services and who doesn't pay. So it has resulted in divided cities. So people who has a better income, they live in this part of the town or the city, and the other ones that have a lower income, they live in the other side. So they're separated. They're all connected because the transportation system works very well here. But they're separated in terms of location. You have to bear that in mind. And if you want to come, again, if you want to come and experience the culture just for a few months or a year, you could try to live in different cities. I would not recommend that because there's also a matter of security, personal security in that regard. So the best parts of the city usually are 4, 5, and 6. 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, 4, 1, 2, and 3 are not that secure, and there's not much police patrols at night, and they have different issues that we are all aware now, right? where we live, also in the
So,
cities where we live.
so what
Yeah.
would be a range for somebody to visualize, as far as if I want to come to Bogota, but I don't make a lot of money, could I still find a safe area to live in and feel comfortable living there?
Yeah, I can only speak for Bogota and some different experiences we have in other cities around. But yes, you could. Usually, strato 3 is not a bad status to live. Only that is usually it's not that nice. I mean, the amount of parks or access to transportation you have to. We have here what you call a cable. I mean, a metro cable. I don't know if you guys were able to see that when you were here, but it's like when you're going to ski resorts and they put you inside a car and take you up to the hills where usually
Funicular to go to
yeah,
Montserrat? See? Yes.
it's like that.
Yeah.
And then for status 1 and 2, they're usually what they call barrios here, and they are the access to transportation. I mean, to go to the top of the hill, I mean, it's too difficult. So they started this kind of system of transportation by the different organizations of the city, of the government, and you can ride those. And it is much more secure than going walking or being on a public bus. But that's regarding the 1 and 2 stratus. And the third stratus is a little more secure if you want, if you're not coming with a lot of money to spend and you want to experience the culture. It's a good place. You probably won't find a lot of people speaking another language. You have to learn that's going to be an immersion in the language, because you have to learn it. And in order to eat or to make some or look for people like me that helps you to do that.
Yes.
And the best place, I mean, the best areas to be here in Bogota are 4, 5, and 6, and they're all around the city. They're more located like at the north of the city, and usually that changes in Medellin and changes in Cali or Barranquilla or Cartagena. They're different. Not all out of the north, but I mean, they're separated because of this status. And there you can find parks and places for recreation if you have kids, and also the commercial side of the city, offices and places where restaurants, cafes, or wherever you can go and have pain.
And what on average, sorry, what on average would you say the cost as far as an apartment would go in a Strata 3 or 4 ballpark?
3 or 4, you can expect to pay like $250, $300. You can go up to maybe $500, $600 per month. Yeah, per
US
month.
dollars. Yes.
Yeah, US dollars. And you have to, the best thing to do is not to be informal with it. I mean, you have to be protected by a contract. It is a better, because that way you can also, if you have any problem with the property, you have a way of resolve things. And usually in this city, in this country, everyone is aware of that, and they're also the owners. They also want to be protected. So they usually ask you for a contract. You have to be aware of that, and also have some legal advice or a realtor who checks the contract for you.
Excellent. I have another question with the cost too. So we ended up in a strata 6, is that right? Neighborhood. Okay. So, and that's the top. And I can, one of the things that we were very happy about was how walkable everything was, how so many parks, schools, everything was walkable, everything felt safe. And that was I think where we landed when we first got into Bogota, Colombia.
Mhm.
We landed in a Airbnb for the first month that was in a neighborhood that was Strata 6. So that was our primary experience of it, and we felt very safe, and we loved it a lot. Everybody out on the road on Sundays, walking in the streets, for the ciclovia, and just, it was just a great time. And so, for those who are listening, who are wondering, well, what is a Strata 6 or a Strata 5 cost per month? You mentioned Stratas 3 and 4, but what about 5 and 6? What kind of range would you expect to pay in a Strata 5? And then, maybe talk a little bit about a Strata 6 as well.
Right. Stratas 5, they usually go around from 800 onto, you can find them. It depends of the area also, the square that you will have in the apartment and your needs. I mean, you can have an apartment of just one area where everything is, in bedroom and everything, and you can find 3-4 bedrooms. That's what sets the amount of the rent.
Sure.
But usually you can go and you can find apartments here in Stratus 5 or from $800 a month to, I would say, like $1,000 a month, and you will be in a pretty good neighborhood. I mean,
And these are sort of your typical 2 or 3 bedroom apartments.
Right.
Okay.
Right. You can even find 3 bedrooms in that range. Now, 6, I mean, Strata 6, that's more complicated because you know where it could start, but you don't know where it's gonna end.
Right. I was gonna say you go all the way up.
Yeah, sky's the limit. I mean, it depends what you have. I mean, you can have a penthouse with a terrace and gym and what they call here a house club, because they have pools. They have, I mean, here, I mean, there's beautiful architecture, and the range for Strata 6 is, I mean, a lot. You can have like the one, and I live in a 3-bedroom apartment here in Strata 6, right across of you guys when you live in here, and the difference, I mean, is this one is a 30-year-old apartment in a 30-year-old building, so I pay much less of what you already paid. I mean,
Right.
Because of that, your building was a recent construction. I mean, it didn't have like 5 years. I think they have that building. Right. So that's the difference, that you can find some opportunities in different neighborhoods to make your money go farther. So being a realtor, I have that opportunity over here. I could find opportunities like that, but they're beautiful apartments. I mean, if you have the kind of income that allows you to have that, well, you can find beautiful apartments, and you can also find gated neighborhoods and with houses, 2-floor houses, 3-4 houses. I mean, townhouses, different things that you can find here in Bogota, and in Medellin and Cali, and different things also.
Thank you.
And I did notice that Bogota is a very family friendly place where we have parks pretty much every few blocks for children to be able to play. And my assumption is that in all the stratas, the city is kind of structured that way. At least everywhere I've been, that's kind of how I saw it. Is that kind of the same dynamic that they have in the other stratas as six?
Yeah, the other stratas, because of the type of constructions in the other stratas, they're try to be more close together, the buildings. So there's not many spaces for parks, even though they have parks. And what they usually, of those stratos, what they use is public parks. I mean, the big parks like Simón Bolívar Park,
Ah, yeah.
because
I see.
Parque de los Novios is another one that's a big one. You have a lagoon, you know, those places so the people can entertain and go have picnics and everything. But you're right. I mean, Bogota is very family friendly, even though it is a cold city. You have to be aware of that too, because here is like fall or spring all the time. I mean,
Yes.
with the rain also.
And I love this. I love the weather. So
My wife loves it too.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not that much into cold weather, but that's okay. I manage. And but the thing is that I mean, because of the in stratus 1, 2, 3, because the buildings are old and it's the city where the city started, and so they grew like very close together. So sometimes the city buy those properties and then they built a park, or because of there's a high concentration of people living in the site, so they need also that. But usually they use the big part. That and then in 4, 5, and 6 stratus, you could see places where are much more planned ahead, so they can build those parks.
Yeah.
They also, besides family friendly here, there's also pet friendly here. I mean, the
yes.
amount of dogs that you see here in Bogota, I mean, I haven't seen it in other cities. So
Right. And it's very diverse too. I was so impressed.
This is big. I mean, you see Great Danes over here. I mean, like it's normal living in 1-bedroom apartments with people. I mean, people are animal lovers here. They're
Yes.
crazy about it.
Yeah, I would definitely say that I've never seen as many dogs as I have in Bogota. Actually, I think the area we lived in, I want to say there's probably more dogs than people because we see somebody
yeah.
walking a dog and they'd be walking 5 or 6 dogs at a time. I remember and that was common.
Right. Yeah, they have here, there's a new kind of employment also, the walkers, I mean, the dog walkers.
Yes.
So you easily can see 6, 8 dogs walking with a guy for going to the parks, and you know, so there's also hotels and places like school for dogs. They come and pick you at your house, with your dog, and take you to take you outside the city,
special
and
treatment.
then they come back. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
they're serious
to
about
have their
dogs.
entertainment too. Yeah, it's great. It's great that way.
Well, you know, like, so I feel on the one hand, the Estrada system can be divisive, right? Like you said, you know, you're sort of separated from people of different classes. Socioeconomic, classes, almost in a very distinct way, in a way that I don't necessarily, well, I mean, I guess in America we do have the same divisions, but it's not labeled, at least, right? It's not sort of, you know, you're in 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever. But at the same time, I guess the other side of it is for us, for, you know, expats or foreigners coming in to the city, it makes it a lot clearer for us to be able to choose, you know, a neighborhood that has a certain, let's say, Estrada number associated with it, right? So, you know, if you know, like I said, if you really are new to the city, like myself and my wife were, we have 3 girls, you know, we didn't mind, you know, paying a little bit more than, you know, than average, let's say. For us, it was a very easy thing to be able to say, okay, this is an Estrada 6 neighborhood. And, you know, the funny thing is, I don't necessarily know with, you know, because you're very familiar, Javier, with the apartment that we ended up staying in. I don't necessarily know that it was, I didn't know it was an Estrada 6 apartment. I just knew that I liked the neighborhood a lot.
Right.
You know, it's one of those things where I think it's true. When you're walking through some of these neighborhoods, you know, even though you don't know what number it is, you can tell.
Right.
I think that's a distinct, for me, that was how distinct it was between certain neighborhoods. Even driving, you know, to the airport and back, we'd pass through neighborhoods, and I could tell the distinctions between the neighborhoods without necessarily being notified what Estrada number it was. So I think you're very right. Like, it had to do with the spacing of the houses. It had to do with the parks. So I guess from a expat foreigner point of view, the Estrada system is actually somewhat helpful if you want to use it like that. But really, for the most part, you can just drive through areas and get a feel of it without the number system and get a sense of how safe it is. I mean, that's how I felt.
Yeah, and you guys, you experience that. I mean, when you go to La Candelaria, that's a typical neighborhood here down the south of the city, where the city grew in ancient times, and that the city was founded around that
Right.
town or that neighborhood, and you could see the difference. I mean, or where you guys were living, or where I live now, and it's also that could see that you could see that in also different cities. I mean, you go to Madrid and you see some neighborhoods that you don't want to walk that alone at night, but you see other nice parts, and it is income related. It wasn't intended. The stratus wasn't intended for that, but it ended up being like that. I mean, all cities have those different divisions and invisible sometimes, but they exist. So you have to be aware when you come into Bogota, where do you want to stay and you want to have orientation for it. Definitely.
Yeah. And for us, safety was the primary reason for our
Yes.
choice of location
Yes,
too.
definitely.
So, yeah.
Apologize about some of the background noise here.
Can
we're
you
above,
hear? Can you hear the background? Can you hear the
Yes, there's some
children?
kids like, yeah, that's okay. Anyway, that's also, I mean, my mother-in-law is in the kitchen, so it's making noises too. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe moving on to sort of a different topic.
What about the logistics of getting the apartment itself? You know, how you have to get an escrow account and you have to get so many things that you need to have in order for you to be able to rent an apartment in Bogota. So there's some
Right, for expats here, as I told you, if they're tourists, they're gonna have a difficult time renting an apartment because they have to have the proof of income, and they don't have accounts down here. So it's usually the normal procedure. I mean, to ask for those kind of things. I mean, bank statements and from the place where you have it. I mean, the city or the country where you have them, and maybe usually there are cases where you ask for your summary of actives. I mean, or things or assets that you have in order to be aware. I mean, you have a person of means to get into an apartment. But it's also, I understand usually the tenants, but I also understand the proper, I mean, the owners. Both have to be protected, and that's our business. And in order to be protected and happy and everything going well, both sides have to be both sides have to have their documents and things online in order to access to better housing. I mean, to better renting apartments. They will ask you for those things. Also, proof of income or letter of work. I mean, work. What do if you are in employment? You're in an employee, you have to have that in also and bring him here. It's not impossible. It's just harder than if you are you coming here with a visa, work visa, and for planning to stay for more than a year. But as you prove it, I mean, it is not impossible for people that coming to experience the life and the social and the social things here in Bogota to have an appointment. It's not impossible to have it. Just that, I mean, you have to be aware that you are going to have a difficult time to get a bank account if you like, you're not likely to have it. So you have to bear that in mind. You have to contact a person or friends if you know them down here, and for them to refer you to agents or refer you to people that can help you to get apartments here, and usually to share with you the way around, you know, around the cities and around the, you need schools, if you need connections. Here we have very good internet access, and that's not much of a problem, but different countries, I mean, that's not a case. Those, you have to check those things before and contact the agents and the agencies before coming is a safe bet for you to be here.
Yeah. So sorry about the background noise again, but yeah, like, basically, my experience, our experience was that we landed in Bogota in December. We had what, a month basically to find, because we got into the apartment by January. So everything that yeah, so everything that Javier is mentioning, you know, finding you know, getting all the paperwork and the contracts dealt with, going back and forth between the homeowner, getting things notarized. You know, I remember you were printing things out and you're meeting us at the notary place, and we were getting stuff notarized and all that stuff. You know, if you're someone like us who not familiar with, we're not really versed in Spanish. We don't really have any local contacts. We don't have like family members that live there. You know, if you're someone who is coming in from another country, you know, for us, it was a huge help to have somebody on our side to be able to look out for us and, you know, bounce questions off of. You know, there's things like, you know, how many months deposit is normal. I remember asking those questions. And, you know, like going over the contract in detail to see what items are normal, what items are red flags or things that we should ask for changes with. You went over all of that for us, and that was super helpful. So I highly recommend working with a realtor. If you know, if you are an expat or somebody who doesn't have, you know, close contacts already, I think working in it with a realtor who can be on your side, negotiate your point of view, even to the point of where, you know, when we moved out, you know, Javier, you took care of a lot of things, and you're still, you know, helping us in that respect. So yeah, like it's a huge resource. We found it to be a lifesaver, because I don't know how to read legal documents, barely in English, right? You know, let alone Spanish, right? So it's really helpful to have people to walk you through things.
Yeah, here in when you are gonna rent an apartment, you have two ways of going. I mean, you can do it directly with the owner, and they check the contract and everything, and he usually asks for the deposit. It depends of that analysis of the documents that you have. They will assess the risk and then set a deposit in terms of how many months should be, how many months of rent should be deposit. And it is not what is used here. They usually do usually use security, I mean, insurance companies. But the thing is, when you are a tourist and you don't have the insurance companies check your records, I mean, and check your credit history. You don't have any, so the way to go here for a person that is coming as a tourist, not as a working or employee of a company, these guys can go to an insurance company because they're backed by their company. But if you're coming by yourself, I mean, as a tourist, it usually goes, I mean, to one-on-one negotiation with the owner and the contract, and we'll ask you for other process.
Let's see. How do a lot of other expats? You know our experience. You know how we came. We just sort of landed there, and we found you, and you know you helped us out with everything. But what's your experience with other expats or other people coming from, you know, from foreign countries? Do they just sort of, a lot of times, just sort of land there and scramble to find out a place like we did, or is there a lot of pre-planning that they do so that when they get here, it's already set up? I mean, how I guess walk me through like the average expat's way of getting, you know, to Bogota and getting into some sort of lease agreement, apartment wise.
Right. Well, I can only talk by other agents' experiences. I mean, you guys were my field expats. I mean, in terms of tourist people coming here, I have experience with companies looking for places for their work for their employees, or looking for warehouses or different things that's much different that when you are coming on your own, just taking advantage of the technologies to work from your house, and even if your job is in the States or in another country. It also is different if you're a family like you guys, or if you're coming alone. I mean, if you're coming alone, you just gonna go from Airbnbs and Airbnbs, I mean, in different places in here in Bogota, because you can find Airbnbs in every strata here. So maybe not 1 and 2, but you can find in 3, 4, 5 strata, you can find Airbnbs available, or maybe not just the whole apartment, but just a room in some other places. So that could be an option if you're traveling alone. But when the time is a family, you have to find an apartment, and that I'd advise to come with some sort of contact already done before you come in, because then you can have surprises here that as you are not prepared to make that jump. I mean, from an Airbnb, that's the best thing to do when you're arriving, better than a hotel, and because the rates are much cheaper. But it is also true that the pandemic has forced some owners that have their apartments in Airbnb to open them, I mean, for renting for years, not just for weeks or months or days, because people are not coming. I mean, people were not coming for almost like year and a half. People were not coming, and we're seeing now more offer of apartments in renting that are coming. There were Airbnbs before, and they say, no, I'm gonna rent this apartment furnished as it is, because it was furnished because of Airbnb, and I want to rent it because people, I mean, the dropping in the amount of people coming as a tourist is being an impact for them, and they have to pay the cost of administrations and everything, and there were not, I mean, it was not a good business anymore. Now it's starting to rise among the amount of people coming. So, but they already made their minds, and the ones that the ones that could pay for the administration fees and everything while the apartment was vacant, they're gonna keep doing it, their Airbnbs. But I think, and there is a number, I think it's 50% of the Airbnbs are dropping in the Airbnb contracts and coming as a extended for much longer periods renting apartments.
So maybe our situation was a little different, isn't it? We came and we didn't have a job there, and we had family members, kids, and we sent them to school. So that was a little bit of
that was a challenge for me.
Different. Yes.
I have to say, yeah. A happy challenge anyway.
Let's see. What about so we talked about Estradas, we talked about so the normal contracts, normal leases in Bogota, most people want at least a 12-month lease term, correct? Rental term.
That's as usual. You can do it for 6 months and then extend it, but usually for long terms, yeah.
And then you mentioned sometimes they can put it in the contract where if you have to leave the country early, if you don't finish the whole 12 months, will they adjust the the payments so that you don't have to pay for the last several months, as long as you give enough notice, right? Sometimes they'll do that. So sometimes owners will agree to say, okay, if you can only say 7 or 8 months, but if you give me notice in advance, we can refund some of the extra months. Let's see, other things that expats or foreigners might want to know about renting. Let's see. The deposit is usually about 2 to 4 months or something like that, or
it depends of your, as I told you, the financial documents that you provide. But usually, because you have no accounts down here, you have no ties with the country. They usually try to protect their investment, and they usually ask for 2, 3, or it could go higher. As I told you, that these contracts are between one-on-one, I mean, between the parts, and they ask you, and you have the right to say no, thank you, or make an offer. I mean, as always, but usually for people that are coming to the country, and they usually could expect a much bigger deposit from someone that is working here and having credit history here and everything. But they usually, I mean, it's 3 months, and that's what they used to have as a deposit.
Gotcha. And let's see. So having the proper paperwork, like I know we had to turn in when we were applying for the lease originally, we had to turn in bank statements, and we had to get letters of employment. So they want to know that you have income coming in to pay for everything. Exactly. And then I don't think they did a credit check on us, did they?
No.
I don't think they did a credit check, but and then of course, like the deposit was huge. One thing I noticed that's different about renting a place in Bogota is that, well, maybe it's not so different, but doing your own repairs. Like, so before you move out, they very much want you to, basically do all of your own repairs. So I think in our case, we painted. Remember, we got somebody to paint certain things and fix certain things, and they want that done sort of before you move out, or they just take it out of your deposit. Is that how it works? Okay. So that was a little. I think in the United States, what did they do? Do they just take it out of your deposit?
Exactly.
Yeah,
they just once you leave, and
so it's more common, I think, in the United States
It's the same.
just to have people take it out of the
Worry
deposit.
about it, and they take you from your deposit. In here, you can go that route too. I mean, you can go that way, but usually people want and need that deposit in order to rent another.
Right.
So they usually try to fix the things
Right.
themselves so they can get the deposit after the inspection. I mean, and the sooner the better. So
Yes.
they had to move to another one, and they're gonna ask you for a deposit too, probably. So they have to have their money complete if you can.
So as a quick note, you mentioned a lot of the sort of average people who rent in Bogota, they work in Bogota, they have, you know, some kind of company affiliation or something. And then they can get bank accounts very easily that way. Whereas with with our family, we did not ever have a Bogota bank account. And so what we did is we have to transfer money every month. We'd have to transfer money from, you know, a United States account to the landlord's account, and or we'd have to just bring money with us sometimes as well to be able to pay for the rent. So that was one of the things that we had to do. But in this day of technology, that wasn't so hard. Setting up a transfer online was very simple and fast.
They just
as
charge
well.
you a fee.
They do charge it. Yeah, that's the thing. They, of course, everybody gets their cut, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they charge a fee every time you do a transfer, which was, you know, part of the process, I suppose. Let's see. Anything else?
I did have another question. So when they were having protests, I have a couple of people I know lived in Suba. And I'm
Right.
assuming Suba was about a strata 4, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it is 4. It is some part of Suba is 5 and 6, right
Okay.
on the hills of Suba.
Yes.
But it's also a mix. That's a neighborhood that's a mix of stratus. It goes even 4 and 3.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a place where usually protests and riots were happening, and we've seen much less of that right now, thank God.
Yes.
But it was an issue. I mean, in order to ensure your personal security, I mean, you have to look for places where as far as you can of those
Yeah.
because it permeates, I mean, to everything, and transportation,
Yes.
food delivery. I mean, because the streets are all blocked, and it's kind of pain. I mean, thank God, I mean, that's already been taken care. I mean, the government has already set some agreements with the protestants, and
Mm-hmm.
there 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 there's still some resistance, but I think it's more political than
Right.
social.
So things are
That is social. It started as a social protest, but it turns out that there's some different political interests, and
right.
that the cities are, you know, not resting
Right.
in quiet. So
So things are calmer now. But during the time when the protests were very consistent and every week and multiple times a week, people from Suba could not get to work because the protests would start. And apparently the city was shaped in a way that you can't get out once the protesters get in. I guess that was one issue that I came across. And I don't know, I just wanted to mention that and see if you knew anything about that in terms of the structure of the town.
yeah,
As far as that goes.
yeah,
Yeah.
that happens. And the 4 and 3 and 2 stratus suffer much.
Oh, okay.
The 5 and 6, because they have other ways to go.
Other ways. Oh, okay. Okay.
Because they're closer to the hills, and they can move from other sides. I
Around.
mean, they have to move around a lot if
Right.
they want to, but otherwise they stay home. I mean, like most of us did. we just stay
Right.
home and hope the things calm down a little bit in order to move around the city.
Okay.
How do people get in touch with you?
Well, since we did the negotiation with you and the owner of the apartment, I moved from Remax. There was a company where I worked before, Now I'm working for another company that's a local company, that's NBH. I can get you the guys, the information so they can get in touch with me. And my cellular phone, it's the best way, or my email, my corporate email, my personal email. You can just drop me a letter saying what you need, and we start looking for things before you get here. It's the best way.
Yeah.
You want to share with us now? I mean, we'll put it in the
Yeah.
yeah,
Well-
but you want to just kind of tell us out loud what your contact information is, email, best phone.
Sure. My corporate email is my name, Javier. That's Javier, at negocios bien hechos. That's what they call the company. So that translates for business well done. So negociosbienhechos.com. And that's my corporate. And my personal email is Javier Nuñez Del Toro at gmail.com. That way you can get in touch with me. Also, my WhatsApp is 302. I never said it in English, so 302 361 5337. Sorry about that.
With the country code plus
Plus
57 before that, right? And
Right.
we can put that on the screen as well for you listeners. Okay.
Any question? Any other question?
No, I think I'm getting close to being out of questions. We talked about a lot of great things. Anything we should cover, Javier?
Anything else you'd like to add?
No, I mean, I thank you guys for the opportunity, and to shed some light on the issue of moving down here. That's much different. The social issues that you have to consider also. Read the
Mhm.
papers before you coming,
Right.
because that things can change for a moment and to another. So it's a beautiful city. It's a beautiful people here also. Bogotans in they are nice people. They're family oriented. They're, as we talk, pet lovers, and they want people to come and enjoy the city also. If you come to add value and you come to work with the people in the city, and they welcome you in open arms. But the thing is, I mean, we also seen other things, and in terms of immigration, and they're coming without much resources, and so that also turns to be stressful for people coming. So taking that in notice, and taking it into account when you are coming down here. It's a big city, and as a big city, you know, it's like living in Manhattan or living in Madrid or living in Paris. I mean, you have the issues all big cities suffer.
Right.
So be aware, and just give me a call. I'd love to talk to you.
Oh yeah. One last thing. Now just remembered. The doorman, the buildings
right.
with the security in the building. Is that throughout Bogota? Or was it mainly the Strata 5, 6 areas?
Now there is 5 and 6 usually, and mostly 6, and it comes from the times that there was a lot of violence here in Bogota because of narcos and everything, explosions, and the people. They usually have that people with guns. Nowadays they don't use it. I mean, it's rare to have. I lived in a building in Chico, where I was before here, and the guards were armed.
Wow.
Because of,
Really?
yeah, because they used to. I mean, I don't know if they need it. They never needed. I mean, as long we lived for 2 years in that apartment, and never see anything
Right.
worth of using the gun. But it comes from those times. I mean, the 80s and the 90s were difficult times here in the city, and they protect the people that living in the apartment having this door. And it can stay as a custom. I mean, as a use. They used to now they used to have it, and it's a nice thing to have also. They have it in Manhattan also. I mean, you have the doormans and they take the package and everything for you. But it's mostly on the stratus, status 6. I use those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a nice feature. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I like that too.
It made it
Yeah,
feel better.
That's really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, that's a great. They're very helpful. I mean, they know their way around the city, and they know the all about the building that you need to know, and just a phone call away from your apartment. I mean, that's a nice feature to have. You
Yeah.
take that into consideration also. When you're looking for an apartment.
Yes, yes. All right. Well, it was such a great time talking to you and going over everything.
Thank you,
So-
Javier, so much
Yes,
for
same
everything,
here.
friendship, and for
Yeah.
all the professional help, and for the karaoke's.
We have to get back. I mean, 3 years now.
I gotta send you some of
sometime,
those
I mean,
videos.
whatever you are in the world, just
Yeah. Okay.
get together on a vacation or
Excellent.
Thank you.
Tell your family we miss them. And again, we just want to say thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts.
same
All
here,
right.
guys. Thank you.
All right. Thanks.